Alright, fine, let's continue forward. Okay, yesterday I did not talk about constructors, so I'll start with constructors, then I'll go to interfaces and management of different objects on the web page, right? So let us start with the constructor, right? How can constructor be used and what it is exactly? Fine. This was your workspace on which we were working. Okay, I'll create a new Java project and I will call it day 2. Okay, and I will add the jar files of Selenium as well because we'll be using some Selenium. Okay, right. So every project you make, you need to add the jar files of Selenium. Fine. And then I'll create a new class. Fine. I'll call that class as phone. Okay. And what are the properties of phone class? For example, string name of the phone, int price of the phone, int say weight of the phone. Okay. Fine. So these are the properties of a phone. All right. And suppose if I create a new class known as test phone. Okay. If I create this class test phone, I'm sorry for that background noise. Right. So out here, I can create the object of the phone class. Okay. Right. Now, if I create the object of the phone class, all right, I'll initialize it. Okay, I will be writing p1 dot name is say phone as say iPhone, p1 dot price is 1000, p1 dot weight is say 300. Okay, fine. Now the problem is out here, every object which I create, will I be initializing it same way? Because if I create another object, say phone p2 equals to new phone. Guys, okay, if I create this phone object p2 as well, and I can write p2 dot name is say Samsung. Okay, every phone object I'm creating, I'm initializing the three properties of the phone object inside the class. All right, fine. So what we do is that we use the concept of constructor out. Avoid this. These are just three properties over here. What if there were 300 properties? Okay, then what would you had done? Okay, right. What would you had done if there were more properties? Would you be writing these lines again and again, say 10 times for every object? So over here, the constructors they are used. For example, I'll write public phone. So this is a constructor for the phone class. Okay, this is the constructor for the phone class. The name of the constructor is same as the name of the class. Okay, there is no return type, nothing. inside it I will write system.out.println inside phone constructor. Okay, so when you run this test phone class now, you will see that inside phone constructor is printed two times. Whenever you create the object of a class, okay, whenever you create the object of a particular class, this message comes up. Okay, fine. The control goes inside the constructor whenever you create the object of the class. Fine. Okay. Now, if I create the constructor like this, even if I create more objects, if I write new phone over here, okay, if I run this code, you will see inside constructor is printed again. So as many objects as I create, fine, you will get more and more outputs like this. Okay, right. Now I can create one more constructor. I can write public phone which accepts the name, price, and weight. Okay, right. So when I create the object of this class, I will create it like this. Say phone p3 equals to new phone. Okay, and you can send the name, price, and weight of the phone out here. Okay, so you can write over here MISA 200, something like this. So you can send the name. This should be integer actually, I'm sorry. So this constructor will be called in which name, price, and weight will be passed over like this. Okay, and inside this constructor you can write name equals to n, price equals to p, and weight equals to w. So you can initialize the name, price, and weight of the phone inside this constructor. Okay, right. So this is the greatest advantage, that using a constructor you can create the object as well as initialize it in one go. If I write over here p3 dot name, p3 dot price, and p3 dot weight, hold on guys, it's going to print, if I run this, it's going to print this. Okay, so this is what exactly is needed. All right, fine. So you can initialize the object, you can create the object and also initialize the parameters in one go with the help of constructor. Yesterday we had seen different driver classes, Firefox driver, iDriver. These also have got constructors. We will see more about constructors in these driver classes. When on day 6, we will be studying about option classes and all, you will come to know when you study the Firefox profiling and all. So right now just understand what constructor is. Constructor is something which will initialize the object, also initialize the parameters of that object in one line. You don't need to initialize the parameters separately by writing every line. Okay, fine. Now, this is about constructors. Okay, if you talk about, if you move ahead and you talk about interfaces, then what interfaces are and how they are used. Okay, let me explain a scenario. Yesterday we had seen how to launch different driver classes. Okay, fine. Now suppose if I create a new class known as dynamic browsers. I want to write a code which can execute on any browser. Suppose I have a variable known as browser equals to Chrome. Then whatever script I am writing should execute on Chrome. This parameter you can later change it, you can keep it in the Excel file or something, but I'll talk about that later on. But how will you make that script work like this, that tomorrow if I change it to Mozilla, then by just changing this parameter over here, the script should run on Mozilla. Okay, if you think you can put a if statement, you can write if browser is equal to Mozilla. Equals compares two things, two strings in Java. Okay, if browser variable is equal to Mozilla, then you can write like Firefox driver. Okay, you can create the object of Firefox driver. Fine. And you can write Firefox driver.get, go to the URL http yahoo.com. Okay, else if the browser is Chrome, then you can create the object of Chrome driver and you can write Chrome driver.get to the URL yahoo.com. Else if the browser is equal to I, then you can similarly create the object of Internet Explorer driver, what we had studied. But does it make sense that I am writing the same code again and again for different browsers? What if I have to go and click on some link or print the title of the web page after going to yahoo.com? So if you want to print the title, the function is Firefox driver.getTitle. So this will give you the title of the web. Similarly for Chrome, you can write cd.getTitle. And similarly for I, you can write I.getTitle. Now, does this make sense? I'm repeating the code. If I have to click on some link, will I have to write the code to click using Firefox separately? Okay. And then using Chrome, will I have to click separately? Okay. And then using I, will I have to click separately? So these are few questions which come into our mind. Fine. Okay. So the answer to this is of course no, you don't need to do that. Okay, you don't need to write separate scripts for every browser. And the answer comes over from the concept of interfaces. Now, what is an interface? Interface is like, interface is like you can say, um, interface is like the cover face of a book. When you go to buy a book, right, just by looking at the cover face, you judge the book. Fine, you see whether the book is for you or not. But you really don't know what will be inside the book. Okay, fine. Or suppose you go to a restaurant to have dinner. When you're ordering, you order from the a la carte menu card. That menu card is like an interface which tells what restaurant is offering, but you really don't know whether it will be uh, for your taste or not. Okay. So similarly, in Java we have interfaces. Okay, interfaces tell what the system is about. Fine, what the system will do. Okay, you can create an interface like this. I can go here. I can create a new interface, and probably I can call this. Just 1 minute, guys. There is some issue with my mouse. Just a minute. My mouse. Just hold on. Right. So out here, we can create an interface known as say bank. So interface bank, you can create an interface by right clicking and selecting interface. What are the features of a bank? For example, public void transfer, public void say credit, public void debit. So these are some common features of a bank. So in the interface, we can have the functions, but you cannot have the function bodies. You really don't know how these things will be implemented. You just have them mentioned over here, just declared that fine, these are the functions present in the interface bank, but you really don't know how they will be implemented. Now you have got implementing classes in Java. I'll create a new class known as HSBC bank. Okay, and you can write public class HSBC bank implement the bank interface. If a class is implementing an interface, it is mandatory for the class to implement all the functions of the interface. Okay, right, you move the mouse over this and select add unimplemented methods, and all the methods from the bank interface will come up in this class HSBC bank. Okay, right. So it is important for a class which is implementing a bank interface to implement all the functions. Even if I remove one function, you will get an error. Okay, this @override is technically known as an annotation. It is not necessary to write it. Okay, but what it does is it tells a layman that this function is actually coming up from the bank interface. Overriding. It is coming from the bank interface. Okay, right. So out here you can write HSBC bank transferring. You can write over here HSBC bank credit. HSBC bank debit. Okay, right. Now I can just create a new class known as test bank, in which I can create the object of HSBC bank, Okay, and you can write hsbc dot credit, hsbc dot debit. Okay, hsbc dot transfer. You obviously, when you're creating the object of this class, you can call these functions. Okay, what is the use of interface? Why did I do this? You will come to know in some time. Just observe what I'm doing. Right. Similarly, I can create a new class known as Citibank. Citibank also I can write it implements the bank interface. So if it is implementing a bank interface, it will have to implement all the functions. You will have to write over here Citibank transfer. Okay, Citibank credit. Sorry, Citibank debit. So if I go to my test bank over here, I can create the object of Citibank and I can call all the functions like city.credit, debit, transfer. Okay, right, fine. So if I run this code, it will obviously it will call the functions of the Citibank over. So what I did was I created one interface and two classes implementing the interface. Interface was bank. It had three functions and both Citibank and HSBC Bank were implementing this particular interface and they were implementing all the three functions from the bank interface. What is the use of this? I could have simply decided not to have this bank interface. I could have simply made these two classes. Okay, I could have decided not to have this bank interface. I could have directly made these two classes. Okay, right. So out here, the advantage I will tell you, it gives a structure to the application. If tomorrow more banks they come up, all the banks will implement the bank interface. Okay, if there are more banks coming up, then all the banks will implement the bank interface and all the banks will have same set of functions. Just by looking at the bank interface, anybody can tell that what will be the type of functions in all the bank classes. This is the advantage. Okay, it gives a structure, a discipline to the system. If you go to, hold on, if you visit the, hold on, I'm forgetting, yeah, seleniumhq.org. I was forgetting the name of the website. If you visit Selenium HQ and if you go to the download section, you will be seeing the Java docs. Okay, and out here you have whatever is written in italics in this documentation is an interface. For example, take screenshot. This interface is responsible to take the screenshot of the web page. Okay, then you have WebDriver interface. WebDriver, this interface WebDriver is implemented by all the driver classes like Chrome driver, Edge driver, event firing WebDriver, Firefox driver, iDriver, Opera driver. So these all are the driver classes which are implementing the WebDriver interface. Okay, fine. So all the driver classes will have same set of functions which the WebDriver interface will be having. For example, close will close the window, find element will find the window. So these are the functions in the WebDriver interface. Get function will load a new web page. Okay, so inside this interface, whatever are the functions, the same functions will be in the driver classes. Okay, if you look at this dynamic browsers.java, the objects I'm making for different classes, but the functions like get function in Firefox driver is taking you to yahoo.com and get title is printing the title. Similarly, get in case of Chrome driver and get title in case of Chrome driver are the same functions. The function names are same. Like we have the function names in our HSBC and Citibank, the objects are different, but the function names are same because they are coming from the interface. Similarly, in Selenium, you have got different driver classes. Okay, but the function names will remain the same. But still it doesn't solve our problem. Although names are same, fine. But does it solve the problem that I'll have to write a separate script for everything? Because Firefox driver, ultimately the functions have to be fired on the driver class, right? If I'm creating the object of Firefox driver, then Firefox driver.get, Firefox driver.get title. If I'm creating the object on Chrome driver, then Chrome driver.get and Chrome driver.get title. Okay, so you cannot work like this. Still, the solution hasn't come, but yes, one thing is for sure, all the driver classes will have same set of functions. Now coming over to the next part of interfaces. The first advantage of interface is that, guys, 1 minute. Alright, fine. So out here, the first advantage of interface is that you have the same set of functions in the driver classes. The next advantage I'm going to talk about, and listen to it carefully. Okay. Now suppose HSBC Bank, it says that it gives a special service to the customers, for example, a gold credit card. So this function is not from the interface. It is something which is proprietary to the HSBC Bank. Okay. Inside it, you can write system.out.println HSBC gold credit card. Okay, fine. So gold credit card function in the HSBC Bank is something which is proprietary to the HSBC Bank. Okay, and out here you can write HSBC dot gold credit card, but you cannot call this function on Citibank object because of course Citibank is not having it. Right? It's pretty simple, right? Pretty logical. Okay. Now, till now, we have been creating the object like this. Now, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the object in a little different way. Listen to this carefully. Okay, people, they get confused out here. I'll write bank B equals to new HS. What I have done is that I've created the object in a way that interface reference equals to the object of the implementing class. Okay, right. Fine. Object of implementing class. Right. So how is this different from this? Using this, I'm using the reference of the interface and object of the class. Okay, fine. So it is different in a way. I'll explain you. You can call the function credit. You can call the function debit. You can call the function transfer, and you cannot call the function gold credit card. Okay, you cannot call the function gold credit card. When you are creating the object like this, you can call the functions which are there in the bank interface and coming in the class, but you cannot call the proprietary functions. So what is the difference between this and this? The difference is with this you can call the proprietary function, and with this you cannot call the proprietary function. So what is the advantage of creating the object like this? There is an advantage as well. I can also write, say, bank B1 equals to new Citibank. Okay, and I can call the functions of Citibank dot credit, something like this. Okay, so hold on, I'll just put a demarcating line, and when you run this code, you see that it prints the functions of HSBC and then the Citibank B1 dot Citibank crediting. Okay, right. Now I can also make B1 point towards object of HSBC Bank. Now this is the twist over here. Okay, what initially I was doing, I was creating the object of Citibank and B1 was pointing towards the object of Citibank. Okay, this was Citibank. And I called the credit function of Citibank. Okay, then I made B1 point towards object of HSBC Bank. I created one more object of HSBC Bank and I made B1 now point towards this. I removed it from here. So I can call B1 dot credit again. The command is same. These two commands are same. But this command will call the function inside Citibank class and this command will call the function inside HSBC class. If I run this code, you see that Citibank credit and HSBC bank credit command is same, but I can move B1 towards a different class implementing the interface. Okay, right. I can say I can write over here bank B2 equals to null. That means B2 is not pointing anywhere. Based on my choice, I can make B2 point towards new Citibank or I can make B2 point towards new HSBC bank. Basically, the fundamental is that if B2 is null, if you have the interface reference, then that interface reference can point towards object of any class. It can be Citibank class or it can be HSBC bank class. Okay, I can write over here B2 dot credit. Okay. And oh, sorry, not system.out. I'm sorry. And I can write over here v2.credit again. So if you run this, so first it will print Citibank credit and HSBC Bank credit. So I can dynamically make a reference point towards object of any class. And that's what we do in Selenium. Till now we had created the object of Firefox driver like this. We have created the object of, is anybody saying something? Okay. We have created the object of Chrome driver like this. Okay. So what we can do is, instead of creating objects like this and say Internet Explorer driver, we know that WebDriver is an interface. Okay. WebDriver, from the documentation of Selenium, WebDriver is an interface and all the driver classes are implementing the interface. WebDriver interface is like bank and all the driver classes are like Citibank, HSBC Bank. Okay, right. So you can write out here WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, or maybe on your choice on the next line you can make WebDriver point towards new Chrome driver, or I can make driver point towards new Internet Explorer driver. Okay, right. So this is how it works. Maybe we can maybe you can make the driver null, and based on your choice you can make the driver point towards any one of the implementing classes for the WebDriver interface. Okay, fine. So out here in our test phone sorry, in our dynamic browsers, we won't write code like this. We will not write code like this. We will declare a WebDriver interface reference, and based on our choice we can make driver point towards new Firefox driver, or we can make driver point towards new Chrome driver, or you can make driver point towards new Internet Explorer driver, Edge driver, you can also write. So if I am having Mozilla and over here if I run this code, this will launch a blank Mozilla. These are some info logs of Mozilla which come up. You can disable them. Okay. Though these are not errors. Alright. So don't get confused. So see, this blank Mozilla opens up. Similarly, if I just change this variable to Chrome, just by changing this variable to Chrome and running this, a blank Chrome will open up. So later on in our framework and all, we read this variable from the Excel file. Okay, just by changing the Excel file, the script runs on the desired browser. Okay, right. Look, the ultimate goal of this training is to help you build a framework. Okay, do you guys know what a framework is? Overall, as in just in general view, do you have the view of a framework, that what the basic goal of this training is to learn a framework? You guys know about what a framework is? Like any general idea or something, you can answer me on the chat as well. Okay. If you don't have an idea, um, I can tell you in a layman's term what framework is. Look, I'll tell you, hold on. When you have a project, a client comes up and tells you, fine, this is the project, it should execute on all the browsers, and these are the 100 test cases which have to execute. So what you do is that you build up scripts. Okay, right. So this can be my, say, test case number one. This can be my test case number two. This can be my test case number three, test case number four. So client says that you want to run these test cases in a particular order, one by one. Or sometimes you have to skip a test case. After TC1, you have to execute TC3 and TC4. Or sometimes the requirement is you have to run them parallelly using Selenium GRID. You have to read the data from an Excel file, from a properties file. Sometimes people use XML as well. Apart from reading data, you have to generate reports. We will be studying extent reports. Those reports should be having logs. Logs means that what happened at each moment when the script was running. Those reports should be having screenshots of failures. Your code should be able to email reports automatically to all the team members. Okay, right. Then apart from that, you have to integrate this project with Jenkins and Git. I'll teach you these things. What these are, if you don't know, forget about it, right? Then you have to use Ant, you have to use Maven, you have to use Selenium Grid. These are different things having different features. I'm just telling you, okay, Ant and Maven are build tools, DevOps, right? So Grid is something which will help you to run the test cases parallelly. Okay, if you talk about Selenium, right, hold on, just listen to me, the answer will come up, Anjan. If you talk about just Selenium, Selenium is out here. This blue box is Selenium. Selenium only has got commands which can interact with the browser. Selenium has no commands to run the test cases in batch. Selenium has no commands to read the data from Excel file, or even report generation Selenium cannot do. This Selenium API, what we have studied over here, this has only commands to interact with the browser. It will not help you generate reports, or help you integrate with Ant, Maven, Jenkins or something, or even help you run the test cases in a parallel or a serial mode. This is a simple Selenium script. If I'm running it, my browser is opening. Okay, once the browser is opening, I can take it to any website, yahoo.com. Commands are same on all the browsers. So this is just a single Java file I'm running. I cannot run multiple Java files using Selenium. Selenium script is this simple script. You make it and you run it, and it will, single Java file will execute. You cannot have hundreds of files executing in Selenium with the help of Selenium. Okay, so to do these things, we use a centralized system. This centralized system is either JUnit, or people also use TestNG, or you have BDD Cucumber. So these are different projects or frameworks which can help you read the data from the Excel file, call the respective test cases in the order or in parallel order, or generate reports integrated with Ant, Maven, Jenkins. So this is a centralized controller. Okay, you can use either JUnit or you can use TestNG. For example, if you have to buy a car, you have different options. Cars comes from different, there are different companies offering cars. So these are different, you can say, frameworks. Like JUnit is different, TestNG is different, BDD is different. You can collab, they'll help you collaborate everything. So it's not just about learning Selenium, it's learning about a lot of other things apart from Selenium as well. Okay, right. Now this whole thing is known as a framework. And there are different types of frameworks. This can be implemented in different ways, like keyword driven, data driven, page object model. To implement this complete thing, you can have different strategies. Every strategy is a different kind of framework. So this whole green box in itself, this green box is a framework. Okay, and there are different types in which I can implement this framework. There are different ways in which I can read the Excel file. There are different ways in which I can generate the reports. Okay, there are different ways in which I can call the test cases and arrange them. So every way is a type of a framework. So there are different frameworks like data driven, keyword, page object model. I cannot teach you all the types of frameworks in this class, to be very honest, because there is a limitation in time. Okay, right. One framework takes around 12 to 13 classes to explain, 12 to 13 hours. All right, I'll take one type of framework. The other type of frameworks you can study from the pre-recorded sessions as well. Okay, right. Now, coming back to this where we were launching the browser dynamically. Okay, just by taking the WebDriver interface reference driver to null, and then making driver point towards the implementing class, you can initialize the browser. Then you can fire the function on the driver. The functions will be the same because all the driver classes, they have the same set of functions. I can write over here system.out.println driver.get, after that driver.get title. So this will launch Chrome, take you to Yahoo and print the title of yahoo.com. Okay, you see that Yahoo title is printed. Similarly, I can, if I run this script on Mozilla, if I run this, then this script will simply run on Mozilla. Mozilla will launch, it will take you to Yahoo, print the title. So you can have a dynamic script. Now, once you have reached the web page, how do you interact with the web page? How do you click on a link? How do you do the interaction with the web page? Okay. Yes, Anjan, you will get the recording. After every class, you will get the recording. I think you missed yesterday's class, Anjan, wherein I talked about different drivers. Okay. We will see how do you interact with the different types of the drivers as well. But before that, it is like before I talk about how Selenium works, right? We have to understand an important concept, which is exception handling. Okay, what is an exception? Because I cannot just directly move over to managing interaction with the web page. I want to teach you in Java. This is a concept of Java, that what is exception handling, right? I'll create a new class known as exception Java. I'll teach you in the simplest possible way. It is a huge topic. There are lots of things inside it. Okay. Suppose I write system.out.println a, and I write on the next line int I equals to 9 divided by 3, and I print over here b. If I run this code, it will print a and b. Okay, simple. But if I keep 9 divided by 0, and if I run this program, it will throw an exception, and it will tell the line number as well, that exception underscore Java line number 7 has some exception. This line is having exception. Okay, right, and it is divided by 0 arithmetic exception. B is not printed, only A is printed. So the line on which the exception comes up, the program stops. This happens in Selenium as well. When you are writing scripts, sometimes some error comes up somewhere. Okay, the program will stop on that line. For example, I don't mention the protocol over here. I just mention yahoo.com, and if I run this program, Mozilla will launch, but it will not go to yahoo.com, and you will get an exception, invalid argument exception, and it will give you the description as well. Malformed URL is not a valid URL. So whenever you get an exception, don't be afraid. The first thing is you read what it says. Second thing is it will tell you the number as well. Dynamic browsers line number 22. Okay, you click on this, the line will be highlighted. You will come to know the line on which exception comes up. Okay, and if you still don't come to know, just copy this, go to Google and search this exception. You will get a lot of help from Stack Overflow and different websites. They will tell you what this is. Okay, so you can do three things. You can read what kind of exception is, you can see which line it is coming up, and you can also search on Google and get help. Okay, so you have to write HTTP. Alright, but the problem is if exception comes up on certain line, the program stops on that. Sometimes the error is not so critical. You don't want the program to stop. You want it to report that something has gone wrong and you want it to continue forward. Over here only A is printed, B is never not printed. So what we do, we use exception handling. We use a try catch block. Whatever code we are writing, we write in a try block. And we write over here catch exception. So if some error comes up, okay, inside it I will write system.out.println inside catch block. Now if I write 9 divided by 3 and run this, it will simply print A and B. Or in the try block, if on any line the exception comes up, the control comes in the catch block. An object of internal exception class is actually sent over here. I'll tell you, hold on, you'll come to know. I'll write 9 divided by 0. And if I run this code, you will see that it prints A. It goes on this line, exception comes up, and then it goes on this inside catch block. Okay, and it will recover from the error. If I print C over here, it will print C, but it will not print B. The line on which error comes up, it will recover from that line, go in the catch block, and then continue forward. This is the object of exception. Okay, you can write over here e.get message. It will give you the error message as well. So if I run this, it will say it's divided by 0 error. Okay, if I write e.print stack trace, it will print the complete exception hierarchy as well, but it will continue the program. It will print the complete error that it's on the line number 7. So this is actually a recovery over here, recovery from the undesired situation using try catch block. So in the try block, if exception comes up on any line, the lines next to that line in the try block are not executed. The control goes to the catch block and catch block say execute and you continue forward. So you can recover from there, or you can report a failure or something, whatever you want. And we will be doing this as well. So this is important. Okay, right. So this is exception handling. At times when we work with Selenium, you will get lot of exceptions the way I was getting, and you should be able to read them. You should be able to find the line number on which the exception comes up. Okay, so I'll stop here and we'll have a 5 minutes break. Fine, so this was exception handling. Now let us go to Selenium. Once you have launched the browser, okay, you have gone to a website and you want to interact with the elements of the web page. How do you do that? Okay, look, different browsers have different inspection tools, but the thing is, it's almost the same for every browser. All right. Now, first of all, you need to understand the concept of HTML language. Okay. If you go to um, any HTML tutorial website and if you give in 10 minutes, you'll come to know what HTML is. All right. So out here, if you look at the page source, this is the page source. Page source consists of HTML language. The browser may vary. Okay, you might work on Mozilla today, or you might work on Chrome tomorrow. Okay, or I. The browser may vary, but this HTML code remains the same across the browsers. Okay, HTML code will remain the same across different browsers. All right, fine. So, hold on. Okay, out here in HTML, you have got tags and attributes. For example, this is the tag name button. Okay, you can go to right click view page source and you will get the page source. Okay, so there are tags and attributes in HTML. This is a division tag which has the attribute class. This is again a division tag which has the attribute container, editor pics. This is a hold on. This is a tag known as A, okay, anchor tag, and it's got the class block link. It's got href attribute, rev attribute. So there are different attributes with this anchor tag A. Okay, right. So HTML is nothing. It's a game of tags and attributes. All right. This is li tag and it's got the attribute class. Now you don't need to inspect the elements like this. Okay. In Chrome, you can right click on any element. For example, if I want to investigate news, okay, I can right click on it and click on inspect. You will have this page source opening up, right? In this, there will be a small arrow over here. Okay, click on this, then move the mouse over the element which you want to inspect. Say, I want to inspect news. Click on the news and it will be highlighted. This is the HTML code for this particular element, news. See, news is written over here. Even if I change it and if I type my name, you will be seeing the name, my name being written over here. Okay, so this is the HTML code. The tag name associated with this is anchor tag, and it's A means anchor tag, and it's got an attribute href. Href attribute in case of link points towards the URL which will open when you click on the link. Okay, right. So out here, out here, we can inspect any element. Let me go to a simple web page. Let me go to this website in.rediff.com. We will be using this website quite a lot during the training, right? Managing the web components, right? On this website, I will click on the sign in link, right? And over here, if I inspect this username field, right? This is the username, right? Out here, if you look carefully, this username field has input tag whose ID is login1, right? Max length 30, any another attribute, name. This any element having ID or name attribute, if it is having ID or name, it really becomes easy to identify the element. Okay, right? If any element has got ID or name, it is really easy to identify it. That's why I'm taking this really easy example, real easy example. It's an input tag which has an ID, which has a name, which has everything. You can also investigate the web pages on Mozilla, right? Result will be the same. Okay, the page source never changes across the browsers. You go to in.rediff.com, click on the sign in link. The browser is different. If you right click on this element, inspect element option is also there in Mozilla. Okay, this Mozilla inspector will open up with the similar kind of an arrow. You click on this, move the mouse over this username, and you will see that it's an input with this ID, max length, name, attribute. Okay, so this is one tag with different attributes. All right. Now, in case of Selenium, every component on a web page is known as a web element. Don't get confused with the web element of QTP. Okay, web element of QTP is different. In case of Selenium, every element on the web page, everything, a link is a web element, a button is a web element, everything is a web element. Okay, and if you go to the official website of Selenium, seleniumhq.org, and if you go to the Java documentation, look, you don't need to go to the documentation again and again inside this website. Okay, you can get the documentation in Eclipse as well. You click on the Java doc link, copy the URL which opens, right? Go to your Eclipse project, right click on it, go to the properties, and go to Java build path where you had added all the jars which I had explained you yesterday. So basically you can import this documentation of Selenium inside Eclipse. Under Java build path, we had added all the jars, right? This is the main jar client combined 3.13.jar. Out here we have the Java doc location thing. You edit this and you give the path, right? From this path, remove index.html from the end. Okay, click on validate and it will say location is likely valid. That's fine. Click on OK and apply and close. That's it. Now documentation of Selenium has been imported in Eclipse. If I move my mouse over WebDriver, it will describe it. This is the main interface used for testing. Okay, if I write driver dot you get lot of functions. You move your cursor in front of dot and you hit control space bar. Okay, after hitting control space bar, you will see lot of functions. Right, if you click on any function like close, it will give you the description. So you don't need to jump into the Java docs of the website again and again. If I click on any one of the links over here, right, Java doc will open inside Eclipse. Okay, you can go to the frames view and you will see all these classes and everything. Okay, now in Selenium there is an interface. There is an interface known as Web Element Interface. Web Element Interface is something which represents a generic HTML element. It has got all the interesting operations which you can do with the web page. For example, if you look at the functions inside the web element interface, these are like click, clear. If you want to clear a value of some element, click on an element, right? Then get the text of the element, whether the element is displayed. So it's got submit. Send keys is used to type into an element. Use this method to simulate typing into an element. All right. So there are different there are different functions in this web element, which is actually which are very actually very useful for the interaction with the browser. Okay, right. Now out here out here we will be using this web element interface. How we will be using it? We will be writing the code like this. Hold on. Where's Eclipse? Okay, I'm sorry. We have this program dynamic browsers. Now if I write driver dot, you get a function known as find element. Okay, right. Find element function will find the element using the given method. Okay, right. And out here, sorry, driver dot find element, by which criteria you need to find the element. That criteria is specified by a class known as by class. There is a by class in Selenium, right, which has got the mechanism used to locate a element within document. Okay, right. For example, you want to identify the element by ID, by link text, by name, by partial link text. So there are different locator strategies. These are known as locator strategies. Locate the elements within the document. Okay, everything in this class is static. Okay, everything in this class is static and you can call it by the name of the class. Okay, so you write the code like this, that is you write over here driver dot find element by which criteria. I can write by the ID. Okay, this text field in the rediff mail case, okay, we have to go to this URL. I'll change the URL over here. Okay, this text field over here has got an ID login 1. Okay, So you write driver.find element by the ID login1 dot, you can hold on. So this will go and find the element on the web page by the ID. Okay, fine, and return you the reference of the web element interface, right, known as a, you can call it username. So driver.find element returns you web element interface reference representing the element. You can find the element by ID. There are various strategies: ID, link text, name. There is something known as XPath. We will be talking about it. Okay, CSS selector. What do you want to do with this username field? You can write username dot send key. Send keys will type anything in the username field. Okay, so you run it on Mozilla. This will run and take you to the web page, and in the username field you will be typing XYZ. Fine. Okay, it prints rediff mail, which is the title of this web page. Okay. If I run the same script on Chrome, the same, just by changing the browser over here, the same script will run on Chrome because the ID of the element will not change. The page source remains the same. See that on Chrome also it prints XYZ. Similarly, you can extract the password field as well. The ID for this is password. Okay. You can write over here web element password field is this, and password dot send keys. You can put up anything, and you can extract this go button as well. This is the go button. The name for this go button is proceed. Okay, so you can write over here web element button equals to driver dot find element by the name. If you have an element with name or ID attribute, it is really easy, and its name or ID is supposed to be unique for an element on the web page. Okay, so you can write button dot click function. So on this web element, you have got functions which can help you interact with the browser. Okay, so when you run this code, you will see that the browser opens and it clicks. It was quite fast. Okay, nothing happened. It was not able to log in, but it was quite fast. Right. Okay. Now, what if there are two elements on the page with the same ID or same name? What will happen? Okay, I'm writing driver.find element by this ID. What if there are two elements which have the same ID? First of all, this should not happen. If this is happening, you can tell the developer as well to fix it. ID is supposed to be unique, name is supposed to be unique. But still, if it happens, then look, Selenium, it scans the page like this from left side to right side, and it goes down the web page. Okay, right. And if you have two elements, suppose one element is out here, other one is out here, and both of them, they have the same ID, then Selenium will pick the first one. It will ignore the second one, it will pick the first one. What if you want to get the second one? I'll talk about that later on. The definition of find element tells you clearly it finds the first element using the given method. Okay, Selenium, when it scans the page, it will scan the page from top left to right and go down. If there are two elements on the page with same ID, it will use the first one. Okay, you can use the second one. I'll tell you later on how you can do that. Okay, Another thing, to interact with one element, I am writing two pieces of lines. Okay, right, I am writing two lines of code to interact with one element. I can ignore this. This is how you do multiple line commenting in Java. Slash star and star slash will comment everything in between. It will make it redundant. Okay, you can write everything in one line. I can write driver.find element. This will extract the web element, and on that web element you can fire send keys the username. Uh-oh, hold on. So driver.find element will retrieve the web element, and send keys function will fire the command on that web element. Okay. Similarly, driver.find element by the password dot send keys the password. Okay. By the button proceed dot click. So execution starts from the left side. First, this is executed, and then on this, the function is fired. So if you run this, this will also give you the same output. So you can investigate the web page on one browser, and you can execute the script on any browser. That is not a problem. You see that it was quite fast. Right. Okay. But every time you will not get ID or a name for an element. For example, if I look at this text over here, username text, if I want to read this text with Selenium, then this is a division with this particular class. Okay, it's got no ID or no name. So you cannot use ID or name everywhere. Out there, we use the concept of CSS selector or XPath, which I will talk about. Okay, right. Not today, but in the coming classes. Okay, look, I think it's more than enough for today. Right, it's not about number of hours in the training, it's about the content by which I go. Okay, in the next class, I'll be talking about XPaths and all, and options classes and implicit wait. Right. So when you go back today, write a script which will, I'm giving you some exercises which you will log into Facebook and simply write a script to log in inside Facebook. Simple script, just try to do this. Okay, try to search on Google. It's not so easy, I'm telling you. Okay, just try to interact with the web page and write these scripts. Okay, so I will jot down these exercises in the weekend batch sheet. Log into Facebook, search on Google. I will discuss these exercises with you. All right, and I'll discuss everything.